When was the last time politics made you rethink your breakfast? And is your vote really worth more than what you're paying for eggs these days? I mean, think about it, because there's a multitude of reasons of why Black people are deciding to leave the Democratic Party this election cycle.
Black Americans are waking up to the reality that the Democratic Party has taken advantage of them, and the media and the party are terrified. Our community supports the policies of President Donald J. Trump and knows full well that life was better 4 years ago under his administration. No amount of media deception or liberal race baiting will sway the minds of Black voters who will cast their ballots this November for safer streets, a better financial well-being, a secure border, and a complete rejection of Joe Biden's disastrous 10-year.
What's going on, crew? Welcome back to the channel. I am so glad you were able to make it back and you decided to spend some time with me today by pressing play. We're in a strange time right now, right? 2024 is going to be a wild election cycle, right? But as I kick this off, I want you to imagine a world where the ballot box could be as fluctuating as the stock market or as unpredictable as gas prices. Well, there's a group out there that's been keeping America's political compass spinning. That's the Black vote. Stolen votes? More like hidden voices, wouldn't you say? This is by far the longest video that I've ever done, so I appreciate everyone in advance for sticking around to hear my take at the end. But the reason why this video is a little bit longer than what I usually put out is because this is actually a montage of Black voices from around the internet. And the reason why I put the montage together is because I wanted you to be able to hear for yourself without a whole bunch of noise, just one single Black voice after the other explaining to you why they have decided to leave the Democratic Party and search for greener pastures. Now, we're going to go ahead and get into it, but if this is your first time here, I'm going to ask if you could be ever so kind as to drop a token in the tip cup by hitting that like and subscribe button, because your support fuels the journey. And as the crew knows, I am grateful for every supporter that I have. Now, let's go ahead and get into the show.
It's about time that somebody started telling the truth. I mean, he's only speaking to what some Black folks have experienced for a very long time, which is a disastrous justice systems in many cases. And ultimately, we can all see this playing out right in front of our very eyes.
The reality is that, we see a president that has been prosecuted and persecuted. And a lot of people in the community, especially in the Black community, who have felt that there's multi-tiers of justice, are seeing that played out in front of their very eyes. And they're saying, yeah, I can relate to this guy. This guy is going through some things that either myself or my family have gone through. And this is a very relatable moment for a lot of people. So seeing this mugshot as a big, to the media and to the political pundits it's a big deal, and it really does resonate within the community.
No, I agree, especially coming from an education perspective. He didn't say, if you're not Black if you don't vote for me. He was just stating the truth, and that's what sometimes we need to hear. For too long in politics, we've been lied to, and we need to hear the truth and have someone that we can relate to.
Do you feel that there have been some policies in the past, while he was president for 4 years, that Black people benefited from?
We had a president who actually took on criminal justice reform with the First Step Act. And unlike the Biden administration and the Democrats, he set forth a platinum plan for Black economic empowerment, something we've seen nothing of the sort from the Democrats.
Absolutely. And the one policy I wish the mainstream media would cover, because it would give you a lot more credibility amongst your average folks, would be the policy that Joe Biden in his 1994 crime bill, when he says, look, we're going to get rid of these racial jungles. We're going to, basically target Black and brown communities for a little $5 piece of crack. We're going to send them to prison for 15 to life. And this has been going on. President Trump came in and saw the injustice that was perpetrated on the Black community, especially. It was targeted. And he said, no, we're going to dismantle this.
Well, what do you think is driving this increase? What specific Trump policies do you feel have helped Black Americans?
I was a Democrat for all my life, my entire family, but it was around COVID time when I started paying attention to policies being made. Like, I started paying attention to, when Trump and other politicians were listening to the parents, the people who really had voices that matter. Because if you look at the media now, no one's paying attention to the parents and what we need. And just because I'm a Black parent doesn't mean that I care less about my child. Doesn't mean that my opinion should not be heard. So there have been a lot of policies that, Trump has been supporting within the parental rights system.
If he came out tomorrow and said he was in favor of late stage abortion, if he came out tomorrow and said he doesn't think Black people have the capacity to succeed in this country, then I wouldn't vote for him. But chances are he won't be saying those things, and chances are I'll be supporting.
We see that the Democratic Party has decided to do away with us. And so we're fine with that. And so we're going to do away with them. And with that, we say to Donald Trump, come to Chicago and meet with us. This city not only has decided to do away with us, but they have come up with a plan called the Office of New Americans, which is attached to a bigger plan across the country. So we say this to all of our people across the country. The bigger plan is Cities for Action. Cities for Action is where over 200 mayors and county executives have decided to take care of immigrants over Americans. And so since they've decided, since the blue has decided to do away with us, then we've decided to go red and do away with them.
The Democratic Party has always neglected to pay attention to the Black community. That is traditional. And because we have been so committed to supporting that party, they feel that they can continue to disrespect us, to marginalize us, to not hear our voices. And so for myself, the turning point for me was when Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson decided that he would not listen to the voice of the people. And I'm not sure where he gets his marching orders from, but he's certainly not listening to the voice of the people. And when the people of Chicago came to City Hall to say to the mayor, we want our status as a sanctuary city ended, and we were virtually ignored, for me, that was a turning point. That was the nail in the coffin for me. I, at that point, decided, if you're not going to listen to me, if the party is not going to listen to us, and let me just say, I'm not going to put this solely on Brandon Johnson, because this is a Democratic state. And so most of our elected officials are Democratic. And so not only did Brandon Johnson not listen to us, but none of our other elected officials bothered to stand up and listen to us as well. And so my thing is this: if you're not going to listen to us, that's fine. We need to stand up and not necessarily do what our grandparents and our forefathers have done and go along to get along. We got to stand up and say, you know what? If the Democratic Party is not going to listen to us, if the Democratic Party is not going to stand up for the people that have supported this party, then it's time for us to make a change. It's time to do something different. You can't keep doing the same old thing and expecting a different outcome. And so that is why it is so important for the citizens of Chicago to turn Chicago red.
Why hasn't more African Americans or Blacks investigated or looked into conservative groups like you're part of, or Republican Party?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just the brainwashing that goes on when it comes to being Black and growing up in Black communities, in Black neighborhoods. I was a Democrat before I switched parties. And I can tell you that I felt that the Democratic Party no longer valued my vote. And so I looked to do something else. Look at it. Representative Reynolds is correct. We give the vote to the Democratic Party higher than any demographic there is out there. Yet what have we gotten for that? We've got our communities still with high crime. We have health disparities. You look at what's going on in some states like New York, where it's a liberal bastion, and they are taking money out of Black programs and giving it to people who've entered illegally. You look at Chicago, and Chicago's taking away community centers and things like that away from Black communities and giving them to other people that have just entered the community. I look at California. That's supposed to be a liberal utopia. And do you realize in California, there's 52 Congress people elected every 2 years, and they have not elected a Black man in 24 years. That is unbelievable. And the reason why is because they feel like they don't have to do anything for Black people, because they are going to get the vote at a high level regardless of what they do. And I would like to see the Republican Party stop thinking no matter what we do, Blacks are never going to vote for us. That attitude has to go away. If every time there's an election coming up, Blacks complain about what they're not getting, but then they head to the polls and give 90% of their vote to the same party. Like at some point, there has to be some type of repercussion for not listening. And that hasn't happened yet. So the minute they stay home, or the minute they start looking at policies that are favorable for our Republican Party. Look, you talked about criminal justice reform. Who passed criminal justice reform? A Republican passed criminal justice reform. Trump did. If you don't believe me, look it up. You're a lawyer. Look it up. Criminal justice reform was passed and signed by Trump, who actually pushed it. Funding for historical Black colleges. I guess you're going to forget that happened also under Trump. He's provided more funding for historical Black colleges than any president before. So I'm not saying you have to like Trump or look at Trump, but I'm saying even look at your local Republican Party, look at your county Republican Party, look at your state Republican parties, and see if there's something in the platforms that you believe in that helps the Black community. Even tax credits for hiring people from low-income areas. That's something that the Republican Party has constantly pushed and has gotten resistance from. So all I'm saying is our loyalty should not be to one party. Our loyalty should be to the interests that best serve our community. And if our interests in our communities are not being served by a party, then we have to look at other options rather than saying every time at a 90% rate, we're going to keep going back to that same party. And I hate the idea that we're loyal to a party more than our community. I see headlines. I saw one the other day. USA Today said, "Oh, the Blacks are abandoning the Democratic Party." Abandon? You can abandon your kids, your family, your friends because you have loyalty to them. Then I can see the word abandon. You're not abandoning a party because we have no loyalty to them. We should pick what is best for our communities, and right now that's just not.
Just got finished taking a look at that, and I hope you enjoyed that montage for what it was, right? A collection of Black voices expressing their opinions, giving you their viewpoint as far as why they chose to leave the Democratic Party or why they're considering leaving the Democratic Party as well. So let's just kind of go ahead and get straight to it, right? It's 2024, and we are talking about the Democratic Party and its promises to Black America. Now, hold up. Before you start typing away the comments, I need you to hear me out. The Democratic Party has been the go-to for Black voters for decades. They're like that old diner at the corner of Main Street. But let's face it, sometimes the diner starts forgetting your order and the eggs, well, I don't know, let's just say they're not as sunny as they used to be. I'm standing here looking at the landscape of our communities and I'm asking, what changed? We've been loyal customers to the Democratic diner for ages, but when the menu keeps serving up inflation with a side of empty promises, you start to wonder, maybe it's time to start eating somewhere else. You see, we've been promised change, served up hope, and been dining on dreams. But here we are, folks, with inflation biting at our wallets like a starved pit bull. And the jobs are playing hide and seek. Do you remember how bad things were in 2008? Yeah, well, these last few years have been like a bad rerun of a show that wasn't great the first time. But yet here we are, staring down another election. And the headliners, Biden versus Trump. It's like choosing between reruns of The Apprentice and West Wing. But the thing is, we're not looking for entertainment. We're searching for leadership. Let's look at Donald Trump for a second. I mean, sure, he might use social media like a teenager that just discovered memes, but the man shook up the economy like a snow globe. I mean, jobs were popping up like whack-a-moles, and for a minute there, our wallets were starting to match our aspirations. Now, before you start thinking this is a partisan job, let me throw a curveball at you, because I'm not talking about right or left. This is about right or wrong. And I'm not talking about the man's personal life. Miss me with all of that. I don't give a flip about what soundbite you heard or what out of context clip you saw on YouTube. I'm talking about the only thing that matters, and that's policy. Look at it like this. Let's strip away all of the partisan noise and strip it down to the only thing that matters. What did we hear from Trump? Jobs, economy, criminal justice reform. Let's not forget about that. I mean, say what you want, but the First Step Act was not just a step, it was a stride. Yet, when we talk about these things, you think it was a secret whispered through the halls of Congress. People like you and I, we've been around. We've seen things. We've talked to people, from the brother working third shift to the nurse pulling a double shift to the truckers in our military who spend weeks or months away from their homes and families. These are not just characters in the political narrative. They are the very heart and soul of our country. And right now, they're all asking the same thing. What's in it for us? You know, I actually have friends that whisper, this year I'm voting for Trump. Like they're sharing some secret recipe. But why whisper? I mean, if you're proud of your principles, speak on it. I mean, we've been fed this narrative that conservatives are all white supremacists or Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks or grumpy old suits. But those suits, they sure seem to understand the assignment when it came to lowering unemployment and boosting business. And if you think about it, isn't that what we want? We've seen a party take our vote for granted like a trust fund kid with daddy's credit card. And I'm sitting here wondering, like, isn't it time to cut up the card? So where does that leave us? Well, personally, I left the Democratic Party back in 2016. But for you, you'll have to decide for yourself once you feel like you have enough information. But while you're going through your decision-making process, I need you to think of this. Do you continue to go down the road of empty promises, or do you take a turn off the beaten path? Are you easily swayed by sweet nothings, or are you prepared to start standing on solid somethings? We've got some soul searching to do, folks, and I'm not talking about the Sunday morning kind. I'm talking about having a hard conversation about where we stand, not just as Black Americans, but as Americans, period. So let me ask you, is loyalty to a party more important than loyalty to your own family and your own progress? And are you brave enough to stand up and demand more than just lip service? Folks, if you enjoyed this content, you want to see more like it, make sure you smash that like button and please consider subscribing to the channel. I humbly thank you in advance for checking out my other videos. So until the next one, I'll catch you in the comments. I'm gone.